Hello everyone, welcome again. In this lesson, I will go through the difference between clause and the phrase. Clause: a group of words that contains a subject and a verb. There are many different types of clauses, but two main types are independent and dependent clause. Independent clause makes sense on its own as a sentence. Example: I went to school. As you can see in this example, there is a subject and a verb and conveys a complete thought. Second type, dependent clause, doesn't make sense on its own as a sentence. Example: although I wasn't feeling well. As we can see in this example, a clause doesn't convey a complete thought and we'd require more context to understand it. Therefore, we can add an independent clause to complete the sentence like this: I went to school. So, here we have dependent clause followed by an independent clause. Dependent clauses usually begin with subordinating conjunctions. There are many different types of subordinating conjunctions. For example, because, when, if, although, since, etc. Phrase: a group of words without a subject-verb component. There are different types of phrases depending on which element the phrase acts as. Now I will go through 5 common types of phrases. Noun phrase: names person, place, thing or idea. An example of a noun phrase is best friend. Verb phrase: a verb is an action word. Example: was playing. An adjective describes a noun or a pronoun. Example: very pretty. Adverb phrase: an adverb modifies a verb, adjective or an other adverb. An adverb tells us how often, how, where and when. Example: really slowly. Lastly, preposition describes place, time or direction. Example: in the basket. Now test your knowledge by identifying whether each of the following is a clause or phrase. Remember to look for subject-verb component. If it is a clause, is it dependent or independent? If it is a phrase, then what type of phrase is it? Now you have time to think about the answer. Here are the answers. One, the big dog. This is a noun phrase because the phrase focuses on a dog, which is a noun. 2. She went to the park yesterday. This is an independent clause because there is a subject, she, and verb went. This clause makes sense on its own as a sentence. Therefore, it is an independent clause. 3. Had been studying. This is an example of a verb phrase. 4. On the shelf. This is an example of prepositional phrase because it is focusing on the position. 5. If you finish your homework. This is a dependent clause because the clause is incomplete and doesn't make sense on its own. There is also subordinating conjunction which introduces the dependent clause. 6. Although you can't see me, I can see you. In this example, we have two types of clauses. There is a dependent clause followed by independent clause. Remember, a dependent clause usually begins with subordinating conjunctions. In this example, the subordinating conjunction is although. A comma is used to join the dependent clause with the independent clause. 7. She is talking on the phone now. This is an independent clause. 8. When you cross the road. This is the dependent clause as a clause doesn't make sense on its own and we required more information to understand it. 9. Very beautiful. This is an adjective phrase as it focuses on adjective beautiful. 10. On the 15th. This is an example of prepositional phrase. Quiz time. Check your understanding about clause and phrase. What is a clause? The right option is option 2. What is a dependent clause? The right option is option 1. What is an independent clause? The right answer is 1. In the basket is an example of a 1. Verb phrase. 2. Adjective phrase. 3. Prepositional phrase. The right option is 3. Prepositional phrase.